This video is to show you and explain the daily AHS status reports that are sent to our customers who are also American Home Shield contractors. These reports are sent out on a daily basis. There are 3 separate reports or 3 separate files that are attached to an email. If you don't receive these reports currently or would like them sent to another email address or additional email addresses, we can send them to more than one address. Just let us know. I'll give you our contact information at the end of this video. So let's jump right into the reports. I'm just going to go through them from left to right. I have them open in tabs across the top of this browser. These reports do not come from American Home Shield. They come from the data in the My Service Pro or My Service Apprentice database. It is recorded based on the button clicks and the activity showing when you've sent statuses. They're intended to be used as a guide to help you gauge how you're doing in reporting your AHS statuses and alert you of any issues you may be having in reporting statuses. You can think of the reports as kind of an audit trail for your status reporting. So let's look at the reports. First, we're going to look at the dispatch status report, appointment set, arrived, and complete. At the very top here, you're going to see some averages, and it's broken down by vendor ID. You may only have one vendor ID, you may have multiple vendor IDs, but it's going to give you a breakdown of the different statuses: appointment set, arrived, and complete. It's going to break these down by hours and days in each of those statuses. It gives the averages for the 30-day period before the report was run. It gives the averages for the previous calendar month, and then the averages for the previous calendar quarter. That's pretty self-explanatory here. The amount of time it's taken in hours for your appointment sets on average, and then it just calculates that as days. The average time for arrived in hours and days, the average time for complete in hours and days, and then the same thing for the previous calendar month and the previous calendar quarter. Then we break it down in some more detail for each vendor ID, showing you the different dispatch IDs and then the different statuses that were sent, the appointment set, the date and time it was sent, and how many hours it took to report that status between when the dispatch came in and when that status was actually sent. And we report that in both hours and days. Same thing for the arrived status. We show the status, the date and time it was sent, and then the difference between when the dispatch was received and when the status was reported. And we report that in both hours and days, and then the same thing for complete. And we just do that for all the vendor IDs. If I scroll down through here, if there's no dispatch activity for a specific vendor ID, it will say that as well. And then below all that, we'll show all the statuses for this report period for the specific dispatch IDs. So you can go through and see any status that was sent for any specific dispatch ID. You might think, well, how do I locate a specific dispatch ID in all of these statuses? In every browser, whether it's Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, if you press Control F, then you're going to get a little box. It'll vary. The location of the box will vary on your screen depending on which browser, but you can just type in the vendor ID there, and then it will give you a nice quick way to locate that specific dispatch ID throughout the report. So that's the first report: appoint set, arrived, and complete. The next report we'll look at is, again, I just have it open in another tab here, summary of dispatches without complete status. It's just that. It's all the dispatch IDs without a complete status, and it breaks them down by vendor ID. So here we're looking at this specific vendor ID. It's going to list all the dispatches, and then it'll show if it's not out of compliance yet, which is 96 hours from the date it was received. It will show you how much time is left in that 96-hour period that AHS gives you. When there's less than 24 hours remaining, it's just going to specify how many hours, as of the time the report was run, how many hours are remaining. Then anything that's out of compliance, it will tell you how far out of compliance. So the farther down you go in this list, the farther out of compliance it is. And you'll notice over here on the far right, we have a comments section. This will show if you've sent another status specifically unable to contact. So if you have something that's out of compliance, you can see, oh, well, here's a bunch that are out of compliance, but we've sent an unable to contact status. So we tried and we just mustn't have been able to get the customer. Now, these that are far out of compliance and don't have a comment, those are some you might want to look into, but maybe AHS cancel those or something like that. If you ever have questions on specific dispatches, you can contact us, and you can also contact American Home Shield if you have questions on specific statuses as well. And if you scroll down through this report, you'll just see the same thing. It's just breaking down, like I said earlier, all the dispatches based on their vendor ID. And then the final report, the summary of dispatches without appointment set. So similar to the dispatches without complete status, this is just dispatches without appointment set. Again, it breaks them down by vendor ID, and then it'll list the dispatch ID, the time the dispatch was received in Eastern Time, then the amount of time left for compliance. So if it's way out of compliance, then it will show you how many hours there it's out of compliance. But just like the previous report, if there was a status sent, it will say unable to contact. So this, again, may be a case where you tried and just were never able to contact them. But the red flags, if you want to call it that, would be the ones here that are out of compliance but never had that unable to contact status sent. And if I scroll down through the report, again, just to emphasize, we break all these dispatches down by vendor ID. If you have any questions or would like to get these reports either sent to you or to additional addresses, let us know. Go to our website, www.myserviceforce.com, and use our live online chat, or email us at support@myserviceforce.com.